Start with the overview page and have a read through all of the instructions. Don't forget to scroll down on each page because there's often information at the bottom. You'll see a totals page. This one you don't need to complete. This will automatically populate from the other pages. The expenses page, which you will need to complete, and these instructions will come up shortly. The JobKeeper and wages page, you put in one figure here and then your other figures there. The boosting cash flow page, that's just one single figure that you insert. And then on the income page, you need to put in as many of these grants as you've got, but also make sure that you're clicking on this link so that all of your expenses and income are covered. First up is expenses. Start with the overview. So let's start with expense items. As it says in a pop-up here, we've listed everything we can think of down in this column, and that may or may not match your expenses. Some of them you may have different line items for, so your accountancy fees might include bookkeeping, for example. You don't have to complete all of them, but you do need to make sure that everything that's on your profit and loss report from last year, which is what you'll be using here, basically what you submitted for your end of year tax return, that everything is included. So if you end up, so tick as you go through and you're filling things out, and if you end up with some things that aren't included here, just pop them down into this other box here and just write down that, I don't know, maybe you've got a hairdressing expense. Then grab your annual figure and put it in here. Your accountancy fees might have been $5,000. And this will automatically calculate what that is per week and give you an adjusted amount. So once again, it's the coloured boxes that you need to fill out here, and that you have an opportunity to fill out here and overwrite them. That might be because, say, last year you did 10,000, oh, not 100,000, $10,000 worth of activities, and because of COVID you've cancelled them all, so that will automatically populate with the 384.62. It didn't do it just then because I overwrote it before, but you might instead of it saying 384.62, instead of it saying that, you might say, no, I don't want anything in there because we're not going to spend money on that. You may find that some things have increased. For example, your cleaning contractors. So that last year it was $7,000, and this year it's going to go up more. So you want to increase that from $269 a week up to $500 a week. Go through and complete these and fill out as much detail as you can. And like I said, make sure that everything is included that's in your profit and loss from last year. In this case, we've got mortgage and rent as two highlighted items, generally because it's one or the other. But let's put in, say, $300,000 worth of rent a year. No, that's $3 million. That's an expensive site. Here we go, and that's $11,000 a month. You'll find then that these figures calculate automatically here. And if you go back to the totals page, some of your expenses have been filled in. Okay, the next page that you need to go to, or we'll just is JobKeeper and wages. The JobKeeper and wages package page is really easy. In this box here, you would put your number of eligible employees. So you might have 14. And then it calculates your JobKeeper allowance, which will then go straight through and populate the income page. Here, you're putting in your wages. So you might have, say, 20,000 a fortnight, and your superannuation being that figure. Oh, not 18,000. I'm really not good with those zeros. Your workers' compensation insurance, which is generally a yearly figure, or it could be monthly or quarterly for you. Make sure that you've contacted your insurer and updated the number of staff you have, so that this figure can potentially come down, but let's call that 5,000 for the sake of it. You might have some contracted employees, some casuals through an agency doing a half day. Now, payroll tax is interesting. Some of you still have to pay it, depending on what state you're in. Some of you don't have to pay it at all. And some are actually getting credits, which comes up on our income page. So complete this for you so that you know what you're doing. We've changed our boosting cash flow page because the calculations are a little bit beyond my scope. So now we need you to jump to this link here. You'll see a screen, and if you scroll down you get this area. Put in your March PAYG withheld and just tick if you submit quarterly or monthly. Calculate that. When you roll over each of these points, you'll see a figure come up, and you need to put in here the monthly benefits, and you can see the dates upon which it'll be paid. And then most importantly, put into this screen here, for example, in this case it's 54,000, the total in benefits, and then that translates back to here, and then we can calculate it into the weekly amount. It's been divided by 10 because these payments are only going through, as you can see, to September's credit, which will be paid on the 21st of October, rather than a whole year. So the final tab for you to complete is the income tab, and you can see that already some of it has fed automatically through from the JobKeeper payment, and then again from the Boosting Cash Flow grant, and I've averaged that out. Your BCP weekly payment, the Business Continuity Payment, or the ACA Relief Package payment, is what the government are now paying you per week on a Wednesday or a Thursday. So let's imagine it's $9,000 per week. That's a fixed number. If you've got apprentices or trainees, you may get another $500 a week for them. If you applied for exceptional circumstances, you may be able to get a top-up weekly amount, and you can either include that in your initial weekly amount, or I would recommend that you try and keep it separate, because there's also some of these exceptional circumstances grants are time limited. So we might say there's another $2,000 a week there. And then your inclusion support carries through, and we might say it's that much per week. Again, make sure that you're choosing, if it's fortnightly, monthly, weekly, yearly, a one-off. CCCF funding, if you were lucky enough to get any, that's a one-off payment, and then I've basically divided it across the 6 months of the first half of the year for you. Lots of states are giving small business grants, and the way to find out all of these is to either click the links here, or if you scroll down a little bit, this link here will take you to an article about the state-by-state stimulus packages, and you can see each state and the various stimulus packages that are available to businesses, and then you can work out if you are eligible for some of them or not. And you might get, say, in New South Wales, there's a small business grant of $10,000, which is a one-off. If you were in the city of Sydney, you'd get another $10,000, depending on what you were doing. For example, if you're feeding homeless people, you get another $10,000, yay. Your bank may give you a loan of up to $250,000 that's guaranteed by the government. Maybe it's, a one-off $150,000. Talk to them if the other figures don't add up. So let's leave that blank for now. In some states, and we spoke about this before, in some states, they're actually getting payroll tax refunds, not just relief from paying it, but actual refunds. So you might get a $4,000 refund if you're in one state. You can see this weekly amount here is going up. Reduced licensing fees in some states, you just aren't going to get charged. In other states, you're actually going to get a refund. So you can put that in if you know what it is. So we go back to the totals page. Now, according to this page, this person is making a profit of $2,970 a week. But let's remember that all other expenses I hadn't filled out. So let's go back here and let's say that hairdressing is wildly expensive. I don't think we need 3 million. Again, a bit enthusiastic with the zeros. Okay, so that figure now would be updated on the totals page. All right, and you can see that income is less than expenses. So if it's in the red, basically this is not a viable business. What you want to do then is work out, can you get a reduction in your rent? Okay, if you are able to get a reduction in your rent, and instead of $300,000 a year, they're going to do it for $250,000 a year. Oh, again, too many zeros. Then we go back to the totals page and we're looking a little bit healthier. We might go to the income page and see if we can get either exceptional circumstances or another grant, or like I said, maybe there's a loan for $50,000. Then if you go back to the totals page, we're looking even healthier. So this figure here is the one that you need to be looking at and working out whether or not your business is viable. And if you can't get it out of the red based on your figures around your expenses and how you're going to rein them in, working on professional development and training, for example. What's a cost-effective way to do that? Did you get a utilities grant? WA have one-off credits, so that may have gone down significantly and need to be adjusted from last year. Will you really have legal costs this year? And for example, this is the licensing and registration and permits. Is that going to actually be a charge this year? Go through there and make sure you can answer all of those questions, and you've asked all of the questions and followed all of the links down here to all of the grants that are available to you. And then if you can't get that number in the black, which basically means that you're breaking even and that you're viable, you need to start seeking other advice. Now, in the link here, most states are also doing mentoring sessions, free mentoring sessions with accountants and business planners. So if you can't get that figure to change, talking to one of those mentors about where your expenses are overtaking your income is something that they might be able to help you with. So we go back to the Finally, where to get help. Your Australian Childcare Alliance State Office will be able to give you help and hopefully work you through not just this spreadsheet, but if you can't figure out how to get your service viable, then where to go for help from there. There are webinars being offered by a range of bodies, and you should be watching them because the information at the moment is changing week to week, day to day, sometimes hour to hour. There are lots of other peak bodies that may represent you in a much closer alignment than, say, the ACA, and this might be Family Daycare Australia or another body like that. And then look to reputable support organisations, subscription organisations such as Childcare Centre Desktop or Child HR. Both of those have really good, reputable sources. Don't go to a source of information who gets you information that you want to hear rather than what's right. Go to the CCS help desk. I've got to tell you that the government bodies have been nothing but supportive of our journey here. That we've got a minister who went into bat for us, and as a sector, we were one of the only ones who got a lifeline. And it was always meant to be used in conjunction with the funding mechanisms available to all of the other sectors. The department itself has been working so hard. They've reallocated staff who are trying to support services, and every decision that's made is made with the intent of keeping our sector viable. So be kind to those people that you encounter. They're doing the best they can. Quite often they've been re-tasked from someone else and they're trying really hard. There are also state-funded mentoring programs, which I mentioned earlier. Click on that link, go through and see if you've got a mentoring program that you can log into. Quite often these are brilliant business people who want to help you. Your accountant knows you and can generally help out with this information. I can't stress strongly enough that chat groups on Facebook or other social media are not going to help you. The misinformation abounding is just going to upset or confuse you. If you're going to get your information from social media, make sure it's from a reputable source and not just a chat group. There are a lot of very upset and confused people at the moment, and a lot of them very angry because this change has been brought about at lightning speed. There are many people that are thankful for that, and many who aren't. But what we want you to do is calmly work through this process. You also need to remember that as a person who's doing a budget, you're in a leadership position and everyone's looking to you at the moment for guidance. We are all at breaking point, man. I'm at breaking point several times a day at the moment, and making sure that you're looking after your own mental health is going to be very important, getting through this so that all of your team who are looking to you for guidance know that things are going to be okay. They're going to be okay. They're not going to be perfect. But hopefully this spreadsheet and all of the support that you get through the Australian Childcare Alliance or the Childcare Centre Desktop, for example, and certainly from our government, is going to make it okay for you. Best of luck and stay safe.